Good day to everyone. Welcome to our first Teach2Reach weekly webinar. My name is Mbali. I will be presenting today's session. The theme for this week has been Siyavula's new navigation and learner registration. As I mentioned, I will be running the session for today. Before we get started, we do have some housekeeping rules just for our webinars. The duration of the webinar is 45 minutes. We ask that all participants switch off their mics and their videos when they do join the meeting. Your participation and engagement is always appreciated and is encouraged. Please raise your hand, until you are recognized. Then we will give you an opportunity to speak or to ask the question that you have. There is a Q&A time given at the end of the session for any questions you may want to ask. And then if you have not already, please join our WhatsApp group. We do post regular updates in that group about the campaign, but also about anything that is happening in the organization. So to start us off, as I mentioned, the theme of the week is our new navigation and learner registration. So some good news at this point is that there's an easier way to navigate Siyavula with some new categories, which is set work, check work, and class admin. So those we will chat about a bit later. And then at this point, our schools are fully onboarded. This means that classes have been set up and teachers have been linked to their classes. Now, one important thing about learner registration is that when learners are registered, teachers are then able to see, the full impact of the learners practicing and completing assignments on the platform. And then for this week and just in general, our recommended goal is at least 85% learner registration across grades as well as in individual classes. So to start off, I would just like to remind everyone again about the 0 rating on Siyavula. So the platform is 0 rated on MTN, Vodacom, as well as Telkom. Now, the common complaints that come in about the 0 rating, saying that it's not working, saying that it's taking up their data, this generally comes from learners. So I would just like to clarify how you are able to access the 0 rating. So if you are, or if a learner, for example, is using Siyavula or is accessing Siyavula from a cell phone, to access the 0 rating, if they don't have any data, they would have to make sure that, number one, their mobile data on their cell phone is switched on. And then the second thing they would have to do is they would open up their browser. We do recommend Google Chrome, but you can access Siyavula from any other browser as well. So you can open up the Google Chrome, and then in the URL bar, so where you would type in the web address of the website you are going to, or where you would see it, in that bar you would type in the entire web address for the Siyavula website, which is https://www.siyavula.com. So this is very important. If the entire web address is not typed in, and for example, the learner types in Siyavula, and this learner has no data on that device that they are using, if they click search, go, enter, obviously it will not produce any result because that learner does not have any data on that device. But if you type in the entire web address, it will take you directly to the Siyavula website. The second thing is learners complain that Siyavula still takes up their data whilst they're practicing or when they're completing assignments. So with regards to that, Usually when learners access Siyavula, they are using a cell phone. And on their cell phones, they do have other apps that they make use of. For example, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. So generally those apps are still open in the background. That means that they're still receiving notifications, which means that their data is being used up, which is why learners complain and say that Siyavula is using their data. So the recommendation for this would be for learners to make sure that they've closed any apps that are running in the background, so that when they access the Siyavula website, there is no data being charged to them as they are practicing or completing any work that has been sent to them on the platform. Okay, and then, the way to access the Siyavula website, as I have mentioned, is to go to the web address, https://www.siyavula.com. Now, the website can be accessed from any device, so a cell phone, a tablet, or a desktop or a laptop. As I have mentioned, the theme of our week is Siyavula's new navigation, as well as learner registration. So there are two parts to our theme this week, which is our navigation and then our learner registration. So for our new navigation, as some of you have noticed, our website does look slightly different. So I am going to go through a live demo just to point out some of the new updates on the website. Okay. So I am now on the Siyavula website, and I'm going to log in to my teacher account. All right. So I'm just going to enter in my username, and then I'm going to enter in the password. And I've clicked on login. Okay, I'm just going to wait for it to log in. Okay, I'm not quite sure why it's taking this long. All right, there it is loading. Okay, so now I am logged into my Siyavula account as a teacher. Okay, let's do never. Okay, so now I'm logged into my Siyavula account as a teacher, and the first thing that I'm sure all of us noticed was this panel here on the left. All right, so on this panel on the left, some of the key things to note, or some of the categories to note, is set work, check work, as well as class admin. Now, the first thing I'm going to have a look at is our category set work. So underneath our category set work, this is where you are able to set work for your learners. So underneath this category, you can access our question libraries, which are for mathematics as well as physical science. Here you can browse through all the questions that are available on Siyavula for both subjects. And then you are also able to create and set assignments for any of your classes as well from this category set work. And then the next category to note is check work. So as the category implies, this is where you are able to check work that your learners have done on the platform, whether this is practice or whether this is assignments or exam prep or so on. So here you are able to see reports for your classes. This is your individual classes or your grade classes if you're on an Explorer plan. So if you click underneath a grade, it will show you the individual classes as well as the grade class for that specific grade. So underneath check work, this is where you are able to view reports of your learners' performance. And then the last category to just have a look at is our class admin. So underneath class admin, this is where you are able to manage your classes. So here, for example, you are able to unlink and link learners to your classes just to make sure that the correct number of learners are in your class, so that when you access reports, they are accurate, but also to make sure that if any learner, for example, does forget their password, you are able to come to manage class, select the class, and then reset the password for that particular learner. Alternatively, if you do not use class admin, you are able to use this bar over here, this box over here. You can click on admin and then click on manage class or access code if you want to view the access code for your class. And then if you click on manage class, it will open up your class and you are able to unlink learners or reset any of their passwords as well. Okay, now this admin option over here was previously known as our overview bar. So if some of you remember, when you clicked on overview, it would open up your class and you would be able to unlink and link learners as well as reset their passwords. But now overview has now been changed to admin, where you have those drop down options. All right, now the next thing I would just like to point out, the next update is our report titles. So underneath check work, for example, let's say we would like to view some reports for a specific class. So I've opened up check work, selected grade 8, and I now have a grade 8 class, which is my test maths class. So I will select that class because I would like to view the reports for this specific class. Now you'll notice there has been a change in the names of our report titles. So the first report that you will see is called Learner Performance. So Learner Performance was previously known as our summary report. So here you are able to see the performance of your learners on practice, as well as exam prep and so on. And then the next report is our topic performance. So this report was previously known as our question report. So if you had accessed any of the question libraries and you had assigned Siyavula IDs or questions with specific Siyavula IDs to any of your classes or your learners, you would go to topic performance to view how those learners did on those specific questions. So it was previously known as our question report. And then the next updated name is assignment performance. So underneath assignment performance, this was previously known as the assignment reports. So here, this is where you can access all the assignment reports that have been sent to the specific class that you are viewing at this time. And then we still have our practice dashboard and our leaderboards. So these have not changed at all. Okay. All right, so now I've covered our new navigation, and just to summarize everything, as I've mentioned in our navigation panel, our categories of set work. Underneath set work, this is where you can create assignments and then browse questions in our question libraries for mathematics and physical science. And then underneath check work, this is where you are able to view the reports on your learners' performance. So those reports are learner performance, topic performance, as well as assignment performance. And then under class admin, this is where you're able to manage your classes, so unlinking and linking learners as well as resetting passwords. Alternatively, you can use the admin box underneath the specific class. You can just select it and then select Manage Class. Okay, and then the next updated change was our report titles. So as I mentioned, those are learner performance, which was formerly known as our summary report. And then we have topic performance, which was known as our question report. And then assignment performance, which is formerly known as our assignment reports. Okay, so now we are moving on to part 2 of our theme for this week. So part 2 is learner registration. So underneath this particular umbrella, we have learner registration for learners in premium and on teacher plans. And then we have registration for learners in Explorer plans. Now, with registration for learners who are in schools who have a premium or a teacher plan, this would mean that learners would have had to create a Siyavula account and then have redeemed an access code. And then with registration for learners who are in schools who have Explorer plans, this would require that learners would have created a Siyavula account, selected their correct school, and then selected the correct grade they are in. This is to ensure that the learners end up in the right grade class in the correct school as well. Okay, so with registration of learners, we just need to make sure that all learners are linked into their classes. This is for premium and teacher plans. And then we need to make sure that learners are linked into their grade classes, and this is for schools who are on an Explorer plan. Now, the importance of having learners registered is to ensure that all your learners are receiving any work that is sent to them via the Siyavula platform. So if you have sent an assignment, or if you created a homework assessment for your learners, if learners are not correctly linked into a class or are not correctly linked into a grade class, then they will not receive any of the work that you send them on the platform. So it's very important that learners are, number one, registered, but then that they are also correctly linked into an individual class or into a grade class, so that they're able to receive any assignments that are sent to them on the platform. And then the other important thing about learner registration is that if learners are registered and are correctly linked into an individual class or a grade class, this will ensure that you as a teacher, you will receive accurate reports of assignments, not just assignments, but of your learner practice, so that when you're looking at that data, it is an accurate representation of your class or of your grade class. So learner registration is very important, but more so is learners being correctly linked to the correct class as well as the correct grade class. Okay, so I'm now going to jump into a live demonstration. So this demonstration is going to have 3 parts to it. So we'll start off with how teachers are able to log in to see their classes as well as their class access codes. So here we'll just have a look at the different ways you are able to share your access code, the class access code with your learners. Please be aware that access codes are for schools who are on a premium or a teacher plan. For schools who are on an Explorer plan, remember we said that learners just need to make sure that they've created a Siyavula account, they've selected the correct school, and that they've selected their correct grade as well. So for those who are on a premium or teacher plan, learners need to do all those 3 things, but they also need to make sure that they redeem their class access code so that they are linked into their individual class. Okay, so we are still logged into my teacher account. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to home. So to get to home, you can either click on home or you can click on the Siyavula dashboard. So as a teacher, when you log into your account, you're going to land up on your teacher dashboard. The dashboard might look different for teachers who have school administrator permissions. So for them, they will just click on the name of their school and they'll end up on the school dashboard. But for a teacher who's linked into individual classes, you will just end up on your teacher dashboard. And then underneath classes, you will see all the classes that you are linked to as a teacher. And then for those on an Explorer plan, you will see your grade classes underneath registered learners at your school. So the grade classes for mathematics as well as physical science. All right, so we're having a look at the different ways that teachers can share their access codes with their learners. So on your teacher dashboard, please, you will navigate to the class that you want to share the access code with. So I have my one class here, so I'm going to click on admin, and then I'm going to select access codes. This is then going to open up my access codes page. So here I'm able to view the access code for this particular class. And for this class, my access code is this forward phrase over here, which is mental dash area dash inverse dash decibel. So that entire forward phrase is the access code for this particular class. So the first way that you can share the access code with your class is you can write it on the board and learners are able to log into their account and then go and redeem the access code, which I'll demonstrate in a second. The second way you are able to share the access code with your learners is via email, and the third is via WhatsApp. So if you select sharing the access code via email or WhatsApp, what this will do is it will open up your email or your WhatsApp on your device, and then it will send a message which has a link in it. So the receiver, which would be the learner, they would click on that link, it would open up their Siyavula account, and then they are able to get linked into the class that way. So if any of you have, your learners on email or via WhatsApp, this might be the easiest way to share the access code with your learners. But if you are not able to do that and you want to share the access code by writing it on the board, then learners will then have to redeem the access code manually. For them to do this, so I'm just going to demonstrate that quickly. I'm going to log out of my teacher account and then log in with a learner account. Okay, log in. All right, so I've now logged into my learner account. I was given my access code by my teacher. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to click on this pink box over here, which says link to a class. So I'm going to click on that. And now I'm able to redeem my access code. So in this box, in these boxes over here, I'm going to type in the access code I was given by my teacher. And then once I've typed everything in, I will click on submit access code. So for some learners, it will say you have already redeemed this voucher, the same way that it has said for me. And in this case, it means that that learner is already linked into the class, so they don't have to redeem this code. But normally, if the learner is not linked into the class, once they type in the access code, they will have to click on, I think it's confirm, and then activate, and then they will be linked into that specific class. All right, so now we've covered how teachers who are on premium and teacher plans are able to share access codes with their learners to make sure that their learners get linked into the correct classes. And then the second part of our live demonstration would be how learners would redeem the access code, which is what I just showed to everybody right now. So they would log into their account and then they would scroll down and select that purple box which says link to a class, and then they would redeem the access code for that specific class. Now, the last part of our demo, I'm just going to show teachers how you can link learners into your classes manually if any learner does struggle to redeem the access code. And then what I'll also cover in that is how you are able to reset a password for your learner, especially if learners have forgotten their password or have forgotten their username and so on. Okay, I'm just going to return to my Siyavula page. So I'm going to log out of my learner account and then I'm going to log back into my teacher account. So I'm going to type in my password. Okay, click on log in. All right, so this part of the demo is just going to show you teachers how you're able to manually link a learner into a class if any learner does struggle to redeem the access code. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to click on admin. So previously this was known as our overview button. So we are going to open up our class because we now want to link a learner into our class. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on manage class. So once we've selected that, it's going to open our class. So at the top, we can see who the teachers are that are linked into the class. And then we can see underneath learners who the learners are that are linked into this class. So now I have this one learner who's linked into this particular class. If, for example, I don't want to have this learner in my class, or this learner does not belong in my class, what I can do is I can remove them from the class. So I can unlink this learner from the class. So I'm going to select the learner's name. You can select multiple names at one time, and then we'll click on unlink learner, confirm, and then this will now remove the learner from this particular class. Okay, so that's how you're able to remove a learner from the class. But if you'd like to add or link a learner into your class, we just click on link learner. And then we can select using their Siyavula ID, their email address, or their mobile number, or we can make use of the school list. So using the school list, you can select multiple learners at one time. But using the Siyavula ID, email, or mobile number here, you have to do it one learner at a time. So I am going to use an email address of this learner. Okay, so I've entered in their email. I'm going to click on link learner. All right, I'm going to confirm. Okay, and then like I said, if there's another learner you would like to link into the class, you can click on link another learner. But if there isn't, you can return to your class overview. All right, so if we scroll down to learners, we can now see that this learner has been linked into the class. If at any stage a learner forgets their Siyavula password or username, please make sure to let your learners know that you are able to reset their password for them, or you are able to give them their Siyavula ID that they can use in place as their username. So if they've forgotten the email address they used or the cell phone number, a learner can use their Siyavula ID as their username. So as a teacher, you would open up the class that that learner is linked to, but you can only do this if you are also linked to that class as a teacher. Okay, so if, okay, you've opened up your class, the learner says, "Ma'am, I've forgotten my password." You open up the class, you select that learner's name, and then you can click on set password. So then once you do that, we can now type in the new password for this particular learner. And then now we're just going to click on save password. This means that this learner can now log into their Siyavula account using their Siyavula ID, as well as the new password that you created for them. So it's so important that learners know that they can use their Siyavula ID as their username if they have forgotten their email address or they've forgotten the cell phone number that they used. And that they should not create a new account. They should rather come to you as a teacher and ask you to reset their password for them. And this is really important because this means that as a teacher, when you are viewing your classes, you are not seeing the duplicate accounts in your classes, which means that this is not going to affect any of the reports that you check, whether it's your assignment reports or the learner performance. So it's so important that learners only have one account that is linked into a class or into a grade class, because this will affect the accuracy of the reports that you access on Siyavula as a teacher. So please make sure that you tell learners to not create a new account, that you can reset their password, and that they can use their Siyavula ID as a username if they've forgotten their email address or their cell phone number. Okay, so that was a bit of a mouthful, but that's the end of the part 3 of our live demonstration. So just one of the common questions that do come up is how am I able to reset a password for my learners if they've forgotten it. Like I've mentioned, you are able to do that by just opening your class, selecting the learner's name and clicking set password. And then if a learner has forgotten their email address or their cell phone number, you can give them their Siyavula ID to use as their username. All right, then in conclusion, so the incentivized activity for this week was making sure that you are registering your learners and that you are aiming for a registration of at least 85% or more of learner registration in your individual classes as well as your grade classes. And then also the other activity was for you to share some of your best practices with us via WhatsApp. So we did receive some feedback from a teacher at one of our schools. So with regards to just getting learners registered, the teacher mentioned their main issue was just onboarding learners and making sure that they were in the correct grade class. So with regards to this is a school that is on an Explorer plan. So just making sure that learners have created an account, selected the correct school as well as the correct grade, just to make sure that they land up in the correct grade class. And then the second thing for them with learner registration was to make sure that they are pushing that the website is 0 rated on MTN, Vodacom, as well as Telkom. Because we do know the common complaint is that students are always complaining that Siyavula is using their data. But for them, they made sure that they showed that the learners that the 0 rating does work and that the website does not use any of their data. So the teacher did mention that this helped out a lot. Just in conclusion again, so we do have weekly prizes which are announced every Friday. So the first winners will be announced this Friday on the 5th of May. This will be on our WhatsApp group. And then we have our Siyavula Schools WhatsApp line where you are able to share your creative ideas or your feedback, or just send us a question if you have one. So our WhatsApp line is 083-598-1624. And then our theme for next week is revision and the lesson. So that's going to be very exciting because we'll be just discussing the various ways you can integrate Siyavula into just your teaching. You know, we'll also be looking at the various use cases you can make use of. Okay, so that's it for the first webinar of our Teach2Reach campaign. Thank you so much for your participation throughout this week. And we look forward to another great week next week with our theme, which is revision and the lesson. Thank you so much.